Hello there again and welcome to Souq Exclusive on Souq News Television here in the city of Lagos. I am David Chiedu, and today on the program we have got a very distinguished gentleman, a fine gentleman by all standards, a visionary leader, a mentor par excellence, a thinker, a very big one by the way, and indeed a businessman who has achieved, if you want to put it that way, in more ways than one, in leaps and bounds for all intents and purposes. I'm talking about the Chief Executive Officer of New Horizons Nigeria, which is a leading ICT firm in the country, in the person of Mr. Tim Akano. He joins us today on Souq Exclusive. Good morning and welcome to Souq Exclusive, Mr. Akano.
Thank you very much for having me.
Right, now we're going to start this way with the basics, before we work our way into some more personal matters. We're going to work our way into your career, as you were, spanning the decades that it has spanned. But first of all, we're going to start with the basics, which is who you are. Who is Mr. Tim Akano?
Once again, thank you very much for having me today. I'm a regular human being. I went to primary school in my town, that's Oluponna. I went to secondary school in same town, Oluponna. In fact, the secondary school I went to, I was the first set because it was a community school set up by the community. In those days, that was the first secondary school in my town as at that time. And then when I finished, I went to University of Ife. It's now Meawulo University, but we used to call it Great Ife in those days, University of Ife. When I finished, I came to Lagos, and the first job I got actually was in the space of IT. I worked with a small company then, owned by one man, Professor Deyemi. It's called Debbie's Computer. That was the first time I had contact with technology, and that was my first job in Lagos after my NYSC. My NYSC took place in Aba Unilever. Unilever in those days was one of the top companies when it comes to capacity development. So it was at Unilever I actually cut my corporate teeth. That 1 year, I used it to build a foundation of what I do today. By the time I finished my NYSC, I had already made up my mind that I'm going to be a corporate person. I'm going to work in a corporate environment. Of course, it didn't come quickly. So the first job I got was Debbie. I did like 2 years in Debbie's Computer before I got opportunity to work with Dunlop Tires. So I worked with Dunlop Tires for about 7 years. I was posted virtually all over the country. I was in Benin, I was in Aba, I was in Nature, I was virtually everywhere. I did sales, I did marketing, I did corporate planning, I did media and public relations so at Dunlop. So the MD then exposed me to different aspects of management. And I did 7 years in Dunlop, which was quite successful. After some time, I decided to change my career to Coca-Cola. It's a Nigerian bottling company. So I joined Nigerian bottling company in 1996. They gave us a big title then. They called it Senior Executive Manager. About 7 of us. The interview was very rigorous. So when I see you today, say, jobs are scarce. It's not today that jobs have been scarce. Good jobs have always been very competitive and scarce. I remember the popular job. The interview took us 1 year to complete, and we were about 5,000 that started the interview. At the end of the day, they employed 7 of us then. I still remember vividly. It was extremely competitive. So I read like I've never read before. I read as if all my life depended on that job. So because it was more or less the best and the biggest company in those days. Up till now, it's still maybe until the Google type of company, Google, Apple became trillion dollar company. Coca-Cola was up there as number one. So it was always a dream of everybody who wanted to be a corporate person to work in Coca-Cola. So I did 7 years in Coca-Cola, which was very, very effective, very productive, and very profitable, both for me and for the organization I work for. It was at Coca-Cola they exposed me to, they gave me global exposure. So I was trained in different countries of the world. I was trained in Prague, I was trained in Athens, I was trained in Dublin, I was trained in London, I was trained in US, I was trained all over, because Coca-Cola key objective is to develop people that will continue to sustain that brand. So in those days, Coca-Cola didn't spare any money to train us. They gave us sufficient training, robust training, end-to-end training. So I was sent to IMD. IMD is the best business school in Europe. It's the equivalent of Harvard in Europe. So that was in Lucerne, Switzerland. After 7 years, I decided that I want to solve a problem for this country. When I was in school, I played student union politics. I was in the Senate of Great Affairs. So we used to criticize government, criticize environment, criticize Nigeria, criticize Africa. But that was then. We are teenagers, we are youth in our early 20s. But by the time I climbed to 40, I told myself, if all I could do in this world is just to say I criticize government, then I would have been a big failure. So I told myself, instead of focusing on criticizing the government, let me pick one problem and dedicate the rest of my life to solving at least one problem for Nigeria. So I was very definite. A philosopher says that there are two happiest days in a man's life: the day he was born and the day he discovers his purpose in life. The day you discover your purpose in life, that's the only day you witness. The day you are born, you are too small to know what was going on around you. But the day you discover your purpose in life is actually your happiest day in life. The day I discover my purpose in life, that my purpose is actually on youth empowerment, using the instrumentality of technology. That was my happiest day in life. So I talked to myself that instead of just criticizing government, oh, okay, you didn't do this one well, you didn't do this one well, what at the end of the day, what will I told my maker I use my life to do? To tell him that I use my life to criticize, I would have been a failure. So I told myself that I was one of the first few people that will resign in Coca-Cola job, because it was a very good job. People hardly resign. You wait till your retirement. But I didn't wait for my retirement. The day I told him that I'm leaving, Marshall, he was shocked. He said, Tim, are you sure nothing is wrong with your brain? I said, no, nothing is wrong. I know what I want to do. He said, what do you want to do? I want to go into training. Training for what? Technology. To do what? To empower the Nigerian youth and possibly African youth. Are you sure? I said, I'm sure. So that's what led to the establishment of New Horizons Nigeria. Of course, I looked for the franchise because I knew also if I enter the market with Team Akano Computer Learning Center, it will take longer time for it to fly in the market. So I went to the US, I did my research, and I came across the world's biggest IT training firm, which is New Horizons. I said, wow, I said, I'm going to go for this. So it took us almost 4 years of negotiating before they could agree to give me the franchise. Because as at that time, in 2004, the franchise fees to have an exclusive access to that brand in a country like Nigeria was $1 million. And I didn't have $1 million with me. So that took us 4 years because they met an Indian guy who wanted to buy 13 African countries, including Nigeria. The guy had money. He was one of the richest. He's also based in Nigeria then, but he had business about 13. He has business about 20 countries, including Singapore. He's into paper. The guy is into paper business, so extremely rich. So for 4 years, they were considering the two of us. So they came to Nigeria a couple of times to check me out. So I took them to my bank. Then they saw my bank account, that I was only living on salary. They said, no, Tim, you can't run a business based on salary. So the 4th year, when the man came to Nigeria, his name is Fisher, Mr. Fisher. He's from Spain. He's the Neo Rising International Director for Franchise then. I just had an intuition that this guy has been coming and they've been considering either to give me the franchise or to give the Indian man the franchise. As at that time, the IT environment in Nigeria was dominated by Indian. All the companies doing IT training in Nigeria when I came, they were majorly Indian companies. So they were a bit tempted, and the guy had more money than myself. I only live on salary. And he said, Tim, you can't run a business on salary. But I told him I will run a business on salary. Something just occurred to me that this guy, let me take him to my biggest asset. So he's been coming. I had a office which I wanted to use for Neo Rising, but of course I was still working in Coca-Cola. I took him to my house on the last day he was flying back to US. So when we got to my house, we had tea, and I took him to the library. My library is at the last floor of my house. And when he got to my library, he was dazed. I won't say he was amazed. Fisher was dazed. He picked the first book in my library. I read it, and when I read books, I underline. I read it. He picked the second book. I read it. Picked the third one. Fisher picked like 10 books. He saw that I underline everything. He looked. The books in my library at that time was in excess of 2,000. I read books a lot. That's all I did when I was in university. Apart from playing politics, all my colleagues, they know me, it's all books. I don't go to, up to today, I can count number of parties I've attended. So I don't go to parties, I don't do any of that apart from reading. So he said, Tim, don't tell me you've read all these books. I said, I've read everything. You can pick anyone and I will discuss it with you. He said, what? I've never seen anybody who has read as many books as this. And these are not small books, these are big. They are some of my books, 400 pages. If I will go to my Kindle, the one I'm reading there now is about on New World Order, it's about 500 pages. He said, Tim, you've read all this? I said, I've read it. I said, okay, then what you don't have in money, I can never forget what he told me. Look at straight to my face. What you don't have in money, I think you will have in knowledge. I'm going back to US tonight, and I'm going to get to talk to the directors of Neo Rising in US that this young guy, what he doesn't have in money, he has more than enough of it in knowledge. And that if this, I'm Fisher now, if anybody had read all these books, the chances are 10 over 10 that this fellow cannot fail. So I was happy. And okay, off he went to the airport from my house. On the following Monday, when they got to US, they had the meeting, he briefed them. And his point then was that Tim was hungry for success. This other Indian man was already a billionaire. So let's give this franchise to somebody who is hungry for success. And based on the number of books I've seen in his library, I don't think Tim will fail. So all the directors agree with him. They just call me on the Tuesday, Tim, do you have a visa to US? I said, yes, I have a visa. They said, okay, fine. Can you come next week to come and meet the entire Neo Rising people? And I went there, and then we had a conversation. They raised the issue of the fraud in Nigeria, because as at that time, Neo Rising was in 60 countries of the world, and they are not in Nigeria. And they told me point blank, the reason why I'm not in your country is because the level of fraud. They brought out a file in that day, and they told me, Tim, there are about 2,000 letters in this file, and all of them are from your country, and they are all about 419. Somebody is saying that his father is the CBN governor, so come and meet him in the CBN office. Somebody is saying my father is the NNPC director, come and meet me in NNPC, I'll give you all allocation. All of them are about 419. Can you give our assurance that when we come to Nigeria, you are not going to abuse our name, our franchise? And I told them that check the names of everybody in that file. Whoever that is a victim for one in Nigeria, that fellow too is a fraud. They look at my face, they were shocked. What are you saying? I said, Nigeria is a country of 180 million as at that time. I said, you told me you have 2,000 fraudulent letters out of 180 million. Check the percentage. And that in every country, you have good people, you have bad people. You have good Nigerians, you have bad Nigerians. You have good Americans, you have 419 Americans. Whoever had fallen victim of that 419 inside the file you are showing me must also have intention of making quick money. That's why he fell victim of 419 in Nigeria. So every one of them, just about 15 people, all white people in the room, they just look at their face that this guy was making sense. And that's how I got the New Horizon franchise. So basically, I set out to solve a problem for Nigeria, which is using instrument of IT to empower the youth, to reduce the unemployment, and to make our youth to be competitive in the global market, and also to ensure that never again will Africa be holding on to the short end of the stick when it comes to technology. Because when I did in my readings, I realized that as Black people, we've always been losing out to the other races based on our weakness in technology. In the 18th century, when they colonized us, the colonizer came with superior weapons. We didn't have the weapons. When there was industrial revolution in the Europe in 18th century, they produced enough food, they had industry. We didn't have technology to produce enough food to feed ourselves. We didn't have technology to produce enough products to export abroad. So it's always technology. We've always been failing in technology. So I put it upon myself that I will use the single life God has given to help solve that problem for Nigeria and for Africa. And for the past 18 years, that's all I've done.
Fantastic stuff. Absolutely fantastic. In case you're just tuning in, this is Souq Exclusive on Souq News Television, Lagos. I'm David Chiedu, and I've been speaking with Mr. Tim Akano. He is the CEO of New Horizons Technologies, New Horizons Nigeria, beg your pardon. It is a leading ICT outfit in the country, a training outfit, might I add, in the country, and he's achieved innumerable success in the last 18 years, as you've heard him say, and of course there's still more to come. Mr. Akano, just a moment ago you were talking about how rocky it was before you got your big break, to lead a franchise of New Horizons International based in the USA. Surely, after that period, it wasn't particularly smooth sailing. You probably had to deal with one or two pitfalls, one or two challenges, as it were. So walk us through what it was like after you kick-started the Nigerian franchise of New Horizons International, and also some of the challenges that you had to go through before you came out shining at the end of that tunnel.
Yeah, thank you very much. It was very rough in the beginning. In fact, the first 6 months when we came out, we were going through most of the companies in Lagos on this marina. I remember we went to UBA. The first question they were asking is that, who have you trained before in Nigeria? So we not train anybody. So nobody wanted to be used as guinea pigs. So it was very tough. One day, I just sat in my office and I said, okay, if I remember the parable in the Bible whereby the man prepared the food for a set of visitors, a set of guests. So when the guests come, what I did was just to go to the, he asked them to be packing people on the street to come and eat free food. So that was what I did. So when everybody wanted us to show what we've done. So nobody was ready to be used as guinea pigs. I just told my staff one day, I said, go to the street, go and pack people. Went to some school, we brought in some young people, about 50. We trained them free of charge. Immediately we did that, we used that one, we took the picture of that this is our classroom. We started training people, we did that, we put it on video, and then business started coming in. So in the first year, I remember in 2005, we trained like maximum, not more than 200 people in a whole year. As I speak to you today, to the glory of God, we train over 100,000 students every year. So we are the highest and the largest training organization in Nigeria today. There is no university that trains as many people as we do. Of course, we partner a lot of universities. We partner like 25 universities where we train their students in IT up to certification level. But in the beginning, it was extremely rough. The resources were not enough. I remember the day I was also talking to them in New Horizon, they call it the Discovery Day. They told me that, Tim, you don't have enough money. But I told them that I had enough faith They all laugh at me. They say, no, Tim, in US, we don't run business with faith. We run it with money. So this is your faith. We don't ask anybody running business with faith. So, but each time they came after we had our breakthrough in the third year. So each time they came after that third year, they always say, so Tim, this faith, tell me more about it. So how does it work? I say, well, faith is just faith that you believe in God and you believe in yourself that it's going to happen. And it will happen as long as you keep doing the correct thing. So what could have caused me, the point I should have made on my library, that library gave me a discount of about 950,000 US dollars. What could have cost me $1 million to pay, I paid $50,000. So because as at that time I had only $50,000 with me, and the franchise fee was $1 million. But when they saw the size of my library and the size of the books I had read, they just decided that, no, let's write it off for him. So the point I make to the youth today is that when they are looking for something, protocol sometimes can be broken because of you, because of your ambition. Of course, my ambition from day one is not for personal glory. My ambition is to help the youth, which I help today. My ambition is to help Nigeria, which I'm helping today. My ambition is to help Africa, which I'm helping today. So I believe when your ambition is not selfish, the forces that make up the universe is about, there are some forces that govern the universe. The forces that govern the universe, when your ambition is not selfish, they align to ensure that you achieve your desired goal. So, and that's what has happened in case of New Horizon. The resources were not there. I successfully raised about 100 million 18 years ago, which is equivalent to billions today, even in today's naira. Because I remember my $50,000 18 years ago was just 7 million naira. That $50,000 I paid to New Horizon was just 7 million naira as at that time. So if you now think of raising 100 million, that was a lot of money. So after I've gotten the franchise, then I talked to people, and out of the 7 people I talked to, 5 of them gave me money, and that's how we started then.
Interesting stuff. Now, I'm also interested in talking a little more about how your experience in business played a key role in you managing New Horizons as the new boss at the time. But before we get there, let's talk about the Nigerian tech space, or the Nigerian ICT space, which is where you've established yourself over the last 2 decades, as you were. There is still a significant skills gap with regards to ICT knowledge. So walk us through how New Horizons has been able to close that gap over the last 2 decades, with what was obtainable at the time and what is obtainable at this moment.
Thank you very much. That's a good question. I remember we visited a bank. That bank is being bought over by another bank now. The MD of that bank then was a lady, and he said, they took us to her. He said, no. I'm not looking to train people, because the ones I trained 2 months ago, they already left. The one I trained 6 months ago, they already left. So 18 years ago, there was extreme shortage of IT skills in the financial sector in this country. And without being modest, that's one of the problems New Horizon has solved. Because when we went to universities, for instance, Babcock University, to train their students from the beginning, so by the time they are graduating at year 4, they already have enough skills that made them to be job ready from day 1. But it wasn't so 18 years ago, before we came up with that concept, that why do we allow the students to finish 4 years in the university before they now start looking for IT skills that will make them to be useful? In fact, it got to a time where a lot of banks are going to NYSC, taking the students that are graduate of the university that we partner with. So it was extremely bad in the beginning, but today we've solved that problem. Even if you employ people today, and like now it's happening that a lot of the young people are going to Canada, they are going to UK, they are going to US to go and look for greener pasture. But we continuously produce enough people into the market. Like I told you, we graduate 100,000 IT professionals every year today. So if the ones that you had in your organization 2 years ago or a year ago, if they've left, we have fresh one. So that's one problem. If they wake up today, that's one of the things that gives me a very, very great fulfillment, that I'm able to use my single life to identify a problem for Nigeria, and I'll be able to solve that problem. With my team, of course, we have about 300 staff right now that work with me in New Horizon. So as a team, we've solved one problem for Nigeria.
Now, speaking about Nigeria and its business environment, there is, of course, a difference at this very moment comparatively. If you want to put what obtained nearly 20 years ago and what obtains at this moment, there is a difference. You came from a background of marketing, sales, and business generally. So with that in mind, how would you say you have been able to, or what would you say has been the factor that has helped you stay afloat with regards to, you know, the upheavals or the ups and downs of the Nigerian business landscape over the last 20 years? Because some would say that as far as ease of doing business is concerned, we don't do very well on the indexes, as it were, whenever they are out. And this has been for a while. So administrations have passed over the last 20 years, have come and gone rather over the last 20 years. So with your background, how, again, this is, you know, the question reiterated, have you managed to, or what were the factors, would you say, that has kept you afloat, has, you know, made you thrive in the space where a lot of other people seem to, you know, have cut their teeth over the last 20 years?
Okay, thank you. I graduated 10 youth corpers in my office on Friday. Every time I take, we have like 4 batches of youth corpers every year. Every batch, I take 10 people personally that I put under my control. I mentor them, I groom them, I help them to channel their pathway in life. So it's a life relationship I build with the corpers. One of the things I told them on Friday, which, to answer your question, is that Nigeria is still one of the best countries in the world. I'm sure people will be shocked for me to say this. Nigeria is still one of the best countries in the world to do business. I've been to close to 40 countries of the world, including Ghana, including South Africa, and Europe, Americas, and the rest of them. There is no country in the world that has as much potential, as much opportunities as Nigeria. Every problem in Nigeria that we complain about is an opportunity for somebody to make money. It's an opportunity for somebody wants to solve that problem. We have enough population, 230 million people. Once you solve a problem facing 1 million people in Nigeria, you're already a billionaire. So that's number one. So I told the youth corpers that left me on Friday that the mindset, I try to work on their mindset from negative to positive, because the environment is full of negative ideas. And so when the youths go out with that negative ideas, they've already missed it. So I take 1 year to work with the youths on their mindset. The first thing I told them is that Nigeria is not a bad country. Forget about the news. People in the news, negative news sell more than the positive news. So that's what happens. But in terms of potential opportunities, this is a fantastic country. I'm not ignorant of the fact that, because I'm also complaining about the high interest rate. When I take money now, banks charge me like 36 to 40%. That's what I pay on interest. So if I take 500 million now, in 1 year, bank expect me to pay almost 40% interest. So that's 900 million. So how many people are bold enough to do that? So the bank interest rate is very, very hurting. So that's a problem. The problem, the cost of energy it's also a problem to the business in Nigeria. So I run generator, I switch on to NEPA. There is it's a choice between the devil and the deep blue sea. There is no salvation in the two. The cost of electricity and the cost of fuel for a generator, it's more or less the same. So that's another problem. And then infrastructure is weak in terms of all other support infrastructure. You realize that the businessman has to practically provide for most of his infrastructure. But all told or all said, when you manage to build a brand in this market, the population is an advantage, and we must not sweep that under the carpet. So what it takes is that it takes extreme courage to first face the problems. So once you are able to solve the problem to a level and you build a brand for yourself, you don't even need 1 million people to patronize you. If 100,000 patronize us every year, if 100,000 people patronize you every year, you are a success in this market. It's not the case with Kenya. It's not the case with Ghana. I've been to Ghana before. The Ghana market is even less than the Lagos market. So the chances of making huge money in Nigeria is far higher than your chance of making huge money in Ghana, Kenya, South Africa, and the rest of them. Yes, we faced a lot of problems, financial problems. Right now, the newest problem on the table right now, it's staff mobility. Now, we cannot compete salary for salary with those remote jobs again. The people like us who are into IT space, a lot of young people now, they don't want to work again. Even the youth corporates I spoke with about a month ago, they said no, they don't want to work in a physical office again. If you can give us remote jobs, and I look at them, I just smile. That if you can allow them to work remotely, that's the kind of job. And you cannot blame them, because the 70,000 government says they will start giving them now. The transport fee is more than that 70,000. So the youth are saying, if you want to engage me, I will work from my house. And that does not work out for most businesses. We are losing out to remote jobs now. We cannot come with salary for companies engaging our youth from Europe, from Canada, America. I have one of my boys, Chris, is getting married this Saturday. Chris is now in a year. In a day, his salary is $15,000 in a month. So $50,000 in a month times 1,700. So Chris is in the region of earning 25 million naira a month. The company, I can't pay that, for instance. I'm not even paying myself that, for instance. But because of the remote jobs, you will do 3 hours in this company, another 2 hours in this company, another 3 hours in this company. Altogether is any Chris $15,000 per month. So how many companies can pay that? So that's one problem. But it's a good problem in the sense that I'm happy that my dream for the Nigerian youth is being actualized. They can earn big money. My only prayer and wish is that when they now make so much big money, I want them to bring that money back to Nigeria to come and develop Nigeria. So for now, companies have to cope, because I know a lot of you've been a lot of breakdown in the banking services of late. A lot of the IT people in those banking industry, they are no more willing to work in Nigeria. The very good ones among them, they have zero incentive to work in Nigeria. In Canada, working online from their room, only laptop, internet, and light, they cannot know what they earn. Bank cannot pay them that in Nigeria.
Now, Mr. Akano, let's also talk more about education. We've highlighted education, and your path is that of education. But we still have a bit of a challenge in our education sector in the country. When you look at other parts of the world, and this is at the risk of comparing apples with oranges, but you see educationally advanced nations like Germany, like Switzerland, like Finland, which we had spoken of off camera, where they have a particular threshold, or they have a particular belvedere where a lot of the citizens are when it comes to education and, you know, the aftermath of said education, because they're all as an advantage, or most of them anyway, are at an advantage. But around here, the case isn't particularly the same. So in your view, sir, when it comes to policy direction from the government at all levels, not just the federal government, and of course capacity building initiatives and private individuals like yourself, how do we put this all together to make sure that we scale up what we have in terms of education? When I mention private individuals such as yourself, because you have been solving a problem for nearly 20 years in the aspect of ICT, which is a very, very, which is a much needed skill in today's technologically driven age. So with regards to, as I said, policy direction on the part of the government and, you know, capacity building initiative, bringing in partners and, you know, private individuals like yourself, how do we marry all of it, you know, holistically to scale up our, you know, education sector that is still lagging? Because, and I ask that, you know, deliberately, because a lot of what we have these days is routine education, such that you go in there, if you're studying, say for instance, food and nutrition, and that's all you know, and you go out, and there isn't any extra skill. And at the end of the day, you're almost employable in the job market. So can you, you know, speak on this?
Thank you very much. Two points. One, the curricula we operate in Nigeria is obsolete. I've been an advocate of revolution, bringing a revolution into our curricula in Nigeria. It's extremely old because the purpose of going to school is to acquire a skill that will help you to solve a problem within your community. So right now, what you read from government is that, oh, Russia has promised to come and help Nigeria to fix Ajaokuta. What happened to the electrical engineers, mechanical engineers we produce in Nigeria? Oh, China is coming to help Nigeria construct the road from Lagos to Sokoto. What happened to our building engineers? Oh, America is coming to help us do this. Spain is coming to help us do this. Oh, India has agreed to come and help Nigeria solve this problem. So it's insulting as a nation. And the purpose, number one reason why a parent would take his child to school is for that child to acquire a skill to be able to come out and be useful to the society. But for us, what we go there to do today is just to collect a paper. We just collect a certificate. So when we collect that paper, the paper is useless because we still depend on Indians, we still depend on Germans, we still depend on Chinese, and the rest of them to solve our own problems. It shouldn't be so. That's number one. Number two, the level of investment in that sector is extremely poor. For us to reap the benefit of higher education in Nigeria, so the government has to take it as a policy. In Finland, like you mentioned, those Scandinavian countries, your tax in some of those countries is as high as 50%. And when they interviewed one of their richest men one time, he said, no, I'm not unhappy in paying 50% tax. They say, why? Why will you want to pay 50% in a Scandinavian country? Go to Dublin and then you can pay something much, much lower. He said, no. When I was a student in Finland, I went to free school, from primary school to university. Now is my turn. The society has made me who I am. Now is my turn to put the money back into the society. So in Finland, where they have almost zero level of unemployment, it's because the investment in that sector is huge. So when people come out and they're able to identify people according to their potential, according to their talent, now what is the problem they have within their environment? So they just don't train blindly. For instance, they just ask, okay, for sociology this year, we're admitting 1,000 students. What is the plan we have 4 years later when we have produced 1,000 sociologists? What is the plan the society has for them? Oh, this year we are going to admit 2,000 people for philosophy. What is the plan 4 years after for those 2,000 philosophers that we are producing? Okay, this year we are going to admit 4,000 people on religious studies. What is the plan for the society for those 4,000 students that we've trained on religious studies 4 years after? So in the country you mentioned, they have plan from beginning to the end. And that is why they are the ones that solve up for us. So for me, government has to improve significantly the amount of investment they are putting into education. And then secondly, we have to review I was in UK last I always go there for a road show. It's the biggest educational show in the world. So I met some Chinese and they told me something that shocked me. So we are talking about smart education in Nigeria. And they said, no, we've already dropped that one. I said, why? They said smart was conceived by Americans 50 years ago. And that every 30 years, every curriculum becomes obsolete. So now, in most of the Chinese schools now, they've dropped STEM. We call it STEM education. They've dropped STEM and they've replaced it with total AI now, because they feel the future belongs to the AI specialists, which is the truth. So we need to review our curriculum and we need to make more investment so that the youth that are coming out, level of unemployment today, according to government data, is about 30%. That's huge. And that's why we have all those social vices we have in the environment, because therefore, as they say, find work for idle hands.
Now, let's taper it down, go on a lighter note. So this is your, I reckon we're somewhere in the region of 200 plus awards in your career. Am I correct?
Yes, actually it's true.
Okay.
I'm to take an award in Ghana this Friday.
Okay, fantastic. Now, that must feel very rewarding considering the work you've put in over the decades, both in your sales and business background as well as your ICT training background, isn't it?
One point though, when I set out 18 years ago, I didn't set out because I wanted to win awards. And awards also didn't come until all these awards, about 200 awards now, people have given me, different organizations in US, in Ghana, in Kenya, in Nigeria, all over. They started coming in just about 4 years ago. So which means I had actually worked for 4 minus 19 now. I've actually worked for the first 15 years without anybody recognizing me. So I have sweated for 15 years before people started, oh, there is one guy there. He was there 18 years ago. He was there 17 years ago. He was there 10 years ago. He was there 5 years ago. So the lesson in that is that I teach the youth what I call 13 years of deliberate activities. It takes an average of 13 years of doing something good, consistently, deliberately, before success comes. So the youth that are looking for easy way out today, I always tell them, no, there is no easy way out. In IT, you can get good job that gives you big money. For you to actually build something that will endure, you must be prepared for 13 years of deliberate activities. And it has happened in my own life too. So I worked for about 15 years before people started recognizing me that, oh, okay, what I'm doing in the life of the youth, because as a matter of fact, there's hardly any country in the world today, up to South Korea, that one or two of the people I've mentioned, you can't find them. So if you go to Valley, you see somewhere there doing extremely well, building something even bigger than what I'm able to build. Me is mentor. So, but that gives me joy. You go to South Korea, you have to get their faith, doing extremely well. Canada, you go to all over the world. It's not the award that gives me joy. It is the lives of these ones. For instance, the one I mentor in US is also the one mentoring my own children now too. So that's what gives me fulfillment in this journey I've decided to take for myself. Of course, it's not an easy thing. If you are not called, you can't do it, because I have hundreds of them on daily basis fighting for the little resources in my pocket. So they have this idea, so I try to encourage them. Someone wants to go to Canada, someone wants to look for jobs. If I even go to my Facebook now, I post vacancy on my Facebook every day because I can't be doing one-on-one. So I collect all vacancies across Nigeria, across the world. I just put it on my Facebook. So once you are looking for jobs, just go there. If you apply, they call you. If you tell me, I can call 1 or 2 people if I know people there. These are the things I do for the youth, and those are the things that people have now realized that is a big gap that I'm feeling for them. If they check university abroad now, I must have written more referee reports for Nigerian students more than any other person in the whole world. Because in a day, I may get up to 10 referee reports from Australian University. Oh, this man chosen you as his referee. Can you state anything about him? In fact, I have a dedicated iPad in my car, all for the mentorship of the youth. Anything on that iPad, all about the youth. They want a referee report, they are looking for a job, they are looking for this. For me, the essence of a man is not dependent on how much money you have in your bank account. How many people talk about Abiola's money again? It's all about what did he use his life to do. So money is good to buy clothing, to buy food, but money is over-exaggerated. A lot of people don't know money, as in money, is over-exaggerated. During COVID, a lot of rich people left. And the only thing we can remember some of them for, he had 10 limousine cars. He had this, he had this, he had this. What impact did you make on humanity? So for me, every day I wake up extremely happy that the journey I set out 18 years ago, God is empowering me every day to fulfill that job.
Fantastic. This is still Souq exclusive on Souq News Television Lagos. I have been speaking with Mr. Tim Akano. He is the CEO of New Horizons Nigeria, a leading ICT training institution in the country, and of course the franchise holder of New Horizons International in the USA, of course. When we come back, we will talk to him about the softer side of his life. Of course, we've heard him talking, about his career, talking about ICT, talking about business and education and all of that. We're going to find out a couple more things about him that perhaps not very many people know, which would be, the lighter side of his life. Join us shortly. Welcome back. It's still Souq exclusive on Souq News Television. I'm David Chiedu. My guest is still Mr. Tim Akano, the CEO, New Horizons Nigeria, one of the biggest actually, ICT training institution in the country. Now, Mr. Tim, let's get to know you from the softer side. I'm going to start this way. What do you enjoy? How do you relax? How do you unwind?
If you meet any of my classmates and you ask them that question, let's say you ask 10 of them will tell you the same answer, that it seems just all about books. It's all about books. I don't know how it happened, but I just, early in life, I just decided to search for knowledge. And I've been at that for the past 30 years. So although these days I try to reduce that, I try to attend functions now. I go to parties. I try to do a lot of old students. I mobilize people. So to come together. For instance, we have this Coca-Cola veterans. I'm the BOT chairman. So that one takes a lot of my time in mobilizing all the ex-staff of Coca-Cola and Nigerian bottling companies. I'm also active in my old student in Great Ife, University of Ife. I'm also a BOT member there. I'm also active in my high school old student. I'm also a BOT member there. So basically, I've been able to be like a center of gravity in most of the places I've passed through before, to the glory of God. But when it comes to social life, I'm very small in social life. I write a lot. If you go to I have a site, www.teamakano.com. I write a lot. I write about geopolitics. I write about economy, how we can do better as a nation, as a continent, and even globally. So basically, I've been a person of knowledge. I can discuss whatever topics. It's just fun for me.
So you basically have not strayed away from your education path.
Yes.
The path we see of you at work is the path we see of you at home.
Absolutely.
Right.
I try to tell the youth now, like the youth corporate that I graduated last Friday, I told them, don't copy me when it comes to that. Do 40% networking, social networking. Do 6% knowledge. Because I've come to realize in the business world that social networking is even more important than what you know, because you are not the only one that is brilliant. You are not the only one that is deep in knowledge, but people do business with people. People must know you. So one of the things I try to tell the youth to correct that I didn't do well is that I didn't socialize very well. So now I tell them, don't run away from social activities. Get involved. Go to parties. Just make sure that you don't misbehave. But social networking in business and in life. Bill Gates' father, he wrote a book at age 85. I still have the book in my library. The title of his book is Show Up in Life. He said people always come to him. How did you manage to raise a boy who ended up as the richest man in the world? And he said the only advice I can give anybody is that show up in life. So when you show up in life, somebody is doing naming ceremony, show up. Somebody is doing wedding ceremony, show up. Somebody is doing chieftaincy title, show up. So when you need those people too, they are going to show up for you. But when you don't show up, I'm just one of the few people that the knowledge, probably I'm also a victim of that knowledge, because the franchise I got that saved me almost $1 million, I got it because of my library. So immediately I knew that library counted for something for me in those days. I tried to stay more. But when I review my entire life, I tell the youth today, do 40% social, do 60% in your library.
Interesting, very interesting stuff. So what are you reading now, sir, currently?
Okay, currently, because there is election tomorrow. In fact, that paper I brought, I'm actually right. Once I leave here, and I'm going to do an article on, I call it a consequential Tuesday. So I'm reading about geopolitics. I'm reading about the way the rise and fall of empires. There's a book in my car now. It's about the civilizations, how the history of civilizations, how Spain ruled the world, collapsed, how Roman Empire ruled the world, collapsed, how Greece ruled the world and collapsed, how Turkey ruled the world and collapsed, and the trajectory of America, where they are headed. So where they are headed right now, it's everybody who should know is anxious about the future of America, and as it affects you, as it affects the entire human race. So that's what I'm reading right now. So I want to do a piece on what is to happen tomorrow. I call it a consequential Tuesday. The election of America tomorrow is going to have a far-reaching effect on human race, because if you look, in 1945, we had only 7 countries that are democratic. In this, as of now, we have 95 countries that are democratic. So the role of America has actually played a central role in determining what happens and what does not happen in the world. So depending on the choice that Americans make tomorrow, a lot of things will not remain the same again. So that's what I'm reading now.
Great
the
stuff.
History of civilizations, how civilization rise and fall.
Great stuff, great stuff. Now, again, still on a lighter note, if you were not a Nigerian living in Nigeria, what country would you be living in? What country of the world would you be living in, and why? Very quickly.
That's a difficult question. And my answer will be funny. Well, I love Nigeria. I'm not living here for any other country. My children can go, but me, I'm here. But to answer your question, when it came to a time, I've been to 40 countries, I told you, when it came to a time that I wasn't also too sure about the future of Nigeria, I asked myself that question, that if this country becomes impossible to live, what are my options? And my option will be funny to you, funny to my wife self. I chose Benin Republic.
Okay, now we get to the why part.
Okay, why part? It's that if Nigeria becomes impossible, I still want to be part of the solution. So I will be nearby trying to network with other people to see how we can bring Nigeria back to its feet. So I purposely went to Benin Republic to say, okay, if at all in the unlikely event it's impossible, I identify a building there close to the beach, a flat, an apartment, okay, I will stay here, but I will still be networking with people of like minds to ensure that we don't pray for our country to go up in flames. I am part of the solution. I don't believe in all those people who say, oh, Nigeria has no future. No, Nigeria has a great future. So let's join hands together to make it a great country that all of us be proud about. There is no other country in the world. I've read, I've studied. I took 50 countries in 10 years. And I mean real study. I picked 50 countries in 10 years to read. How did they develop? Why did they develop? And I've come to the same conclusion that there is no other country in the world that is as blessed as Nigeria. None. Saudi Arabia, what do they depend on? The arable land in Saudi Arabia is less than 2%. In UAE, the arable land in UAE is less than 2%. Nigeria has 45% arable land. So Saudi Arabia depends on their oil and gas. Nigeria has lithium, Nigeria has uranium, Nigeria has gold, Nigeria has diamond, plus 45% arable land, plus ocean, plus timber. Saudi doesn't have timber. The timber in Nigeria is exported to China on daily basis. What does China have? They don't have 1/4 of what Nigeria has. Russia, what do they have? Russia has plenty oil, plenty gas, but all other things Nigeria have, Russia doesn't have them. America, what do they have? They have oil, they have some other stuff, not as much as Nigeria. So the uranium in Nigeria alone can build 4 Dubai in Nigeria. The uranium alone. The gas in Nigeria, my friend was digging a borehole in his house in Benue. He discovered gas at the back of his house in Benue. We've not even scratched the surface of the gas business. And that gas is what develops Qatar. Qatar depends on gas economy. And the gas in Nigeria, we've not touched it. That gas from Imo State to Anambra State to Kogi State, it goes to Benue. We've not touched it. That one alone is $1 trillion business. So if I studied that, I took 10 years out of my work, doing like 5 hours every day. Why do some nations develop and why Nigeria has not developed? And I've realized that it has not to do with our resources. We have people, we have brilliant youth. 52% of the population, they are youth. And every nation built the civilization with the youth population. So the only missing link is that we don't have discipline, and the structure we run can never develop Nigeria. There is no, from my study, I studied 50 countries over a period of 10 years. There is no heterogeneous society anywhere in the world that is administered centrally, that is free of crisis, and that is developed. So every heterogeneous society has to be administered decentrally. You have to decentralize every heterogeneous society. Everybody has to take control of his destiny, and they have to develop at their own pace. Everything we are doing in Nigeria in the last 64 years, we are just playing. Anytime we want to develop, we have to decentralize Nigeria. Edo was a nation state. Edo, the Benin we see, it was Benin Kingdom. Edo was a nation state. Edo has to be administered decentrally. We've killed their potential and their talent by hiding them 100% under Abuja. So what heterogeneous society do is that the talent, everybody bring their resources to the center, a portion of it, maybe 30%, and then they use that one for their currency, for their security, for their foreign affairs. That's what happens in Switzerland. Switzerland has 6 regions like Nigeria. That's what happened in UK. You have the Scottish, they are practically independent, but they are still under UK. But the destiny of Scotland is in the hands of Scottish. So the destiny of Igbos can't be in the hands of Fulanis. The destiny of Fulanis cannot be in the hands of Yoruba. The destiny of Yoruba cannot be in the hands of Hausa. The destiny of Igbos have to be in the hands of Igbos. The destiny of Fulanis has to be in the hands of Fulanis. The destiny of Yorubas has to be in the hands of Yorubas. The destiny of Benin people, Edo people, have to be in the hands of Edo people. But we still maintain a central country where we now take 30% of the resources to go and develop things that unite us. I'm for Nigeria. But what we operate today, if we stay like this for another 100 years, we cannot develop.
Very, very deep. Very, very insightfully deep, that one, that last remark there. But on a final note, and this is the actual curtain drawer at this point in time, what is the future? And you can spread that, whether it's short-term, mid-term, or long-term, for New Horizons Nigeria. What is the future? You know, where do we see it in the next maybe year to 3, in the next 3 to 5, in the next 5 to 10, as the case may be?
All right, thank you. There are 7 technologies that will rule the world for another 50 years. And New Horizon is going to play a central role in terms of getting the Nigerian youth to be pacesetters in those areas, or to be at the forefront. Because we will not be pacesetters, but we can be at the forefront. One is artificial intelligence. There is nothing we can do about it. It has a positive side, it has a negative side. But the best is for us to get involved. If we don't get involved, the people who are at the top of AI, the AI today has capacity to produce you, that AI journalist, AI interviewer that can do virtually everything you've done with me in the last 1 hour. So that's why Nigerian youth and African youth, we must not be found wanting. So I'm trying to get New Horizon to accelerate the rate at which you are transferring skills in AI to the youth. That's number one. Second, it's data science. Data science is very key now. Third is the blockchain. Everything in the world will sit on blockchain. The land allocation will sit on blockchain. All the banks, the financial sector will sit on blockchain. So the blockchain is a skill. These 7 skills, we call them 7 skills with zero unemployment. There is no youth that has any of these 7 skills that will be unemployed. None. If any youth is very good in AI, he cannot be unemployed. I'm 100% certain of that. If any youth is very good in data science, he cannot be unemployed. I'm very certain of that. If anybody is very good, any youth is very good in blockchain skill, he cannot be unemployed. I'm very certain about that. If any youth is very good in cybersecurity, he cannot be unemployed. I'm very sure about that. If any youth is very good in platform engineering, I'm very sure about that. He cannot be unemployed. If any youth is very good in cloud architect, cloud technology, all those Amazon, Alibaba, that's cloud. If any youth is very good in that cloud technology, he cannot be unemployed. So we have these 7 skills that we call skills with zero unemployment rate. So I want New Horizon to do more, build AI lab, top best-in-class AI lab, to ensure that we prepare our youth towards tomorrow. That's in the short and the medium term. In the long run, I actually, and this is where I will retire. My goal is to actually, nobody can build a Silicon Valley. But when China wanted to develop, they have something equivalent to Silicon Valley. So my goal and my wish and my prayer is that I get support. I want to facilitate a Nigerian Silicon Valley in Ekpe. I have the land already, and I know it requires huge resources until we start producing this thing. All this technology you used to interview me today, all of them, 100% of them, they are from foreign countries, whether US, China, UK, all. There is no Nigerian made here. I'm not happy about that. But it requires a lot of resources. So in the long run, that's where I will spend the rest of my life. Not just in training now, in ensuring that our youth were part of production. We are just not consumers. Right now we are consumers, and that's not good. So we also have to be part of production. So when China wanted to build China 2.0 civilization, they also created their own Silicon Valley. So I want to be the instrument or the tool through which Africa will have its own Silicon Valley, not the one we have, all those small ones. No. When you say Silicon Valley, it is like a port where you see, I've been to the one in Israel, in Jerusalem. It's like a port where you see money, you see ideas, you see investors merging. So we don't have that in Nigeria today. We don't have any of that in Africa. There will be money in Israel today. I normally go almost every year. If you have idea that require $50 million, and that idea is viable, in 48 hours, $50 million will be on the table for you. You don't have anything. All you need to do is just to dream and come up with a solution. Once that solution is scalable, it can go global, Israel will give you money. Not Israel as a nation, individuals there. So there are some people that have pulled all resources together. So no amount, and you can see when they sold Mobile Eye in Israel, they sold it for $16 billion. One solution, which was just 5 years old then. The WhatsApp we see today, WhatsApp was a creation of some young Israeli people. It was sold at $12 billion to Facebook. $12 billion. It was created by just two Jewish people. So when you say this one that Uber was created by just two young, one Jew, one American guy. Within 1 year, they've already achieved a market capitalization of $50 billion. So I'm praying and working hard that I will be the tool through which Africa and Nigeria will stop being a consuming nation, technology-wise, and becoming a production center for the world and for humanity.
Fantastic stuff. You've heard it all from the horse's mouth, talking about Mr. Team Akano. He's told us a lot about his career, a lot about his business, some details as well about himself, the softer side too, that is, may I add. But indeed, he has spoken quite extensively on who the person of Tim Akano is. He is indeed a visionary leader, a mentor, and an innovator, and a smart businessman par excellence. He is the CEO of New Horizons Nigeria, franchise outfit of New Horizons International, the USA, the biggest, one of the leading ICT training institution in the world. And of course, here's the leading ICT training institution in Nigeria. Many thanks again, Mr. Akano, for joining us on Souq News.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Right, that's Souq News Television, Souq exclusive today. Many thanks for watching. Until next time, when we come your way again, keep watching Souq News Television. I am David Chiedu. Bye for now.